What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. I have Derrick with me tonight, who is a fellow automation control freak, and you got lots of crazy stuff going on. So it should be a good one tonight. Figure we check out your tank and kind of discuss some of the crazy automation stuff that you got going on. How are you doing
Thank
today,
you,
buddy?
Devin. Thank you, Devin. I really appreciate you having me. This
Good to
is a
have you.
good time.
Yep. So you have a couple tanks on the go. One of them we can kind of see right behind you. So this one is built into the wall.
That's correct. It's my reef tank. It's about 100 gallons. It's a, what is that, Nouveau 100, I
Yep.
believe. And it is in the wall. That is
Nice.
correct.
How do you like the in-wall tank?
I love it because the greatest part is the tank is actually in the garage. And I can access everything. I can access the top. I can access the sides. I can access the sump, everything.
Yep.
And I'll show you here in a bit how I can access the front as well.
Does the top flip up?
The top comes off, actually. Completely.
Nice. That's nice.
That's whatever I want. I don't know if you can hear it, but you shouldn't be able to hear it. It is very silent.
You're speaking to my heart.
Extremely silent.
Yeah.
You can't hear anything. Once I take the top off, you'll hear it. There's a good amount of noise coming from it.
Okay. Hey, if you can't hear it in your living room when you're looking at it, that is perfect. I mean, that's 100% the way to go.
So this tank was just set up. I think we're going on about 4 months now. I transferred it from a 55-gallon reef that used to be in the room here in a corner. I transferred all my coral, all my rock, brand new sand, and actually transferred most of my equipment. But at the same time, we decided to build a new cabinet, and I got a bigger sump.
Nice.
And added a ton of automation stuff,
Yes.
which you will see in a second.
Excellent. Can't wait for it. So when you upgraded, what were some of your kind of lessons learned? Because I know every time I upgrade, you tweak certain little things a bit differently. You add in something you wish you had previously.
The biggest thing that I did was clean the rocks. I know that sounds crazy, but I had a lot of nuisance stuff. I had nuisance algae. I had bubble algae. I had a lot of vermitid snails, which I can't stand. And we cleaned the rock really good before we put it back in. And that is the best advice I can give someone that upgrades.
What'd you do to clean it?
Toothbrush.
Yeah.
Toothbrush. That's about it. Just got it off as much as I can and rinsed it in some salt water.
Nice.
And
you said
it worked quite a bit.
You also said bubble algae and some other stuff. Did it come back after that, or did that mainly get rid of it? Really?
It's
nice.
Gone. Yeah, it's gone.
Awesome.
The 55-gallon reef that I had in here was about 8 years old. So it was a pretty well-established tank. There was a lot of stuff in there that we had to get out. And the greatest thing was the tank was literally a foot away from the other tank.
Oh,
so we were able to keep everything going and in a day move everything over. So it was quite an easy process for me.
Nice.
We had these huge tubs in the kitchen here with tons of water. I was stressing all day, but it worked out great. We didn't have any deaths. All the coral actually looks better in some cases.
Nice. That's awesome.
So much better having a bigger tank. Oh my goodness.
So were you as hardcore into automating everything prior to this tank? Or is this something that you kind of went into after the upgrade? Yeah.
Oh yeah. So for a living, I own a home automation programming company. So I'm a computer programmer by trade. For those that are out there that might know this, I program Crestron for a living.
Nice.
I've been doing it for almost 20 years. And my first automation system in the reef tank was a reef keeper. I had a reef keeper on that little 55.
Nice.
And I've been doing this. When I heard about Neptune, I started just buying everything that Neptune has and learning about it. But yeah.
Nice. Love it. So automation is basically your job. So obviously you're going to be hardcore about automating the tank as well.
Yeah, my whole house is voice activated. I got custom shades. I got a projector over here with a screen. I'm a little hardcore when it comes to this stuff, but I love it. It's my life,
It's fun.
So I brought it to my tank.
No, that's awesome. You're going to show me some of your house stuff later on the side.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
No problem.
Perfect. Okay, so you have two tanks, right? You got a reef tank and a fish only
Hmm.
tank.
I do. I have a 300-gallon fish only tank
Yep.
that I've had for about 10 years.
Hmm.
Some of my fish in there I've had for easily 7+ years,
Nice.
which I'll show you here in a bit.
Okay.
That tank
Awesome.
has no coral, with the exception of some mushrooms that I moved from this tank into that tank because they were outgrowing this tank.
Hmm.
So now my 300 does have coral in it, but that's
Nice.
probably the only coral that will be going in there.
I wouldn't be able to help myself if I had a fish. If coral just slowly starts sneaking in there, I couldn't.
I do have 2 bubble tip anemones in there. They're pretty
Okay,
big.
that's a
I
good
have
start.
4 chocolate chip starfish that are very big.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah,
You know,
that's not bad.
only
The
about
fish.
50 fish or something.
Yeah. The fishing fool is asking, how important do you think automation is? Do you think it just makes tank upkeep easier, or do you think it makes the quality of the tank better?
I will tell you that I've been doing this for probably 20 years.
Hmm.
I've been doing reef tanks. My first saltwater tank was a BioCube here in my kitchen when I first moved in the house. It's a 12-gallon BioCube. That was my first
Hmm.
reef tank. In those 20 years or so, I've had 2 tank crashes. One of the
Hmm.
tank crashes that I had killed every fish in my tank in the 300. And I got home from a vacation and they were all floating. And I had
Yikes!
a lot of fish in there.
Yikes! What
And
happened?
I was heartbroken. What happened was I used to have a RO DI system underneath the tank, and one of the canisters cracked and it started
Mm.
leaking, and then the power went out
Ah,
while I was
yikes!
on vacation. So to answer this gentleman's question, I think regardless of all the crazy stuff I'm doing, the most important thing that I have is the alerts and to tell me if
Hmm.
something's wrong. And I can tell you, when you have this much money invested like I do in my corals and my fish, which I'll show you, um, I couldn't believe not having something that alerts me. Whether
Hmm.
it's Neptune, whether it's you know those other companies out there, I don't even know some of them,
Yep.
THL, I guess. Um, it's so important to know not necessarily the temperature, but I think power. If your
Yeah,
power goes out,
that's true.
and that's the biggest thing I do with my Neptune is both my tanks have power outage uh,
Alerts.
programming and
Yep.
alerts to tell me if the power goes out.
So, do you have a generator, battery backup? What do you use to deal with power outages?
So I have a number of different things. I have Ecotech battery backups on both tanks because I have MP40s on both tanks.
Good choice.
Um, but the main pump and the sump
Hmm.
and some of the other pumps I have are on APC battery backups,
Okay.
and they run for about 2.5 hours. So those are kind of the first line of defense, and then of course the second line would be the Ecotechs.
Hmm.
So, and I have a lot of leak detectors. I don't know how many I have. I'm going to say 12.
Have you had any leaks on this tank?
I have had many leaks on both tanks.
They're
Um,
serving their purpose.
the most leaks I get are from my Skimmer container collection cup.
Okay.
That thing seems to want to always overflow.
One thing that I did on mine is the I think it's XP Aqua or Auto XP. I never remember which one it is, but it's like a little magnetic optical sensor you put inside your cup, and it'll turn it off if it starts to overflow. It's only
Yeah.
happened. It's only kicked in once, but it's nice to have that kind of peace of mind.
Mm-hmm. I have. I've lost count how many optical sensors I have. I have optical low sensors. I have optical high sensors. I have optical
Hmm.
sensors in my containers. I have optical sensors in my containers. I have optical sensors in my RO container. I have optical sensors in my freshwater containers.
Yep.
I can tell you guys that's the greatest thing to have optical sensors. Tells you where your level of your water is at all times. So
Hmm.
if it was to start rising for any reason, I'll get an alert.
Yep.
And it's huge for me. Um,
Now, do you have your automation counteract or deal with a lot of these, or is it more
oh
just
yeah.
to let you know? Okay.
Oh yeah. So I have multiple programming for different things. If it gets high, turn off this. If it gets
Hmm.
low, turn off this. If the container gets this high, do this.
Yeah.
And if you can dream it, I put it in my program. Like I think of all these different scenarios that might happen,
Hmm.
and I make sure that I have an alert for if something was to happen. Um, and I do have a reef link also for
Yep.
my Vectras because I have Vectra pumps.
Hmm.
And I could tell you anybody out there that wants to get a Vectra pump, you can't put it on your Neptune. So the ReefLink is wonderful, not just for programming, but it tells you if your Vectra was to seize up, overheat, stop working, which is huge. So that's the only reason I got that thing.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because I know the ReefLink, I've never had it send me one, but I know it can send you alerts if there's an issue with the pump or something's up with it.
Yeah.
Or same with Neptune with the newer one. I mean, you got your power monitoring, right? If you see a big change in the consumption, maybe it's plugged up, something stuck in it, something happened. So
yep.
So,
I have flow sensors also. I have flow sensors on all of my returns. I have flow sensors on my my algae turf scrubbers.
Yep.
I have flow sensors on my UV.
Is there a Neptune sensor you don't have?
I don't have the par meter from them. I've never seen the need for it, and I don't have the dissolved oxygen one.
Okay.
But pretty much everything else I can say that I do have.
All right.
I love their stuff.
Yeah. Aaron's asking, how do you like the ReefBot versus the Trident? You have both, don't you? Yep. Well, they're doing different tests, right? Well, somewhat.
Okay, so the ReefBot does my nitrate and phosphate, and it does ammonia. Now, a lot of people say, well, why are you using it for ammonia? Because I had ammonia laying around, so I decided to throw it in there.
That's fair.
All three of those tests work really well with the ReefBot. I have had no issues with those three tests. However, anything beyond that I've done with the ReefBot, I have had issues with. Now, I don't know if it's something that I'm doing wrong. I don't know if the reagents I have are not good. And a lot of people ask, well, what the problems are, what are the problems that you have? Well, I just for fun, I decided to use the ReefBot for alkalinity to compare it to the Trident, and it would be so far off in precision that I just stopped doing it. What I mean by that is one day it would be 9.8, the next day it would be 7. Then the next day it would be 8. That's a pretty big swing. Yes.
Yep.
There was a point in time, I will say, that it was relatively precise, where it was 8.4, 8.4, 8.4, 8.4, but my tank was 9.5.
Yeah.
So it was, so I kind of just gave up on the alkalinity, and that's been something I've been working with them trying to fix, but I've kind of just given up, to be frank with you.
That's fair.
But I can say for certainty the Trident has the least amount of problems and is the easiest to use by far.
No, that's promising. We're using the Trident for the big 3, and you're using the ReefBot for nitrate, phosphate, and ammonia? That's
correct.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. Aaron, $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. 501 actually.
Well, I'm not there to compete with them today.
Yeah, you're in the hot seat today.
Yeah.
Okay, now for automating a tank, what if you didn't have this crazy hardcore setup? What would be like the one main thing that you'd say someone should automate or have?
Leak detectors.
Yep.
Would be huge. Leak detectors, temperature, and that's about it. I mean, honestly, that would be the most important two things to make sure your temperature isn't going up and make sure you don't have a leak.
Okay. I would say
electricity too. Knowing that it has power.
Those are good ones. Actually, I wouldn't even think of leak detectors as the main one. For me, it would be auto top off and temperature controller. Those are the two things that would be.
Well, I guess I figure if the auto top off fails, if it fails on, it's going to leak, right?
Fair.
So let's
what
say
if it fails off?
If it fails off, I guess an optical sensor would be a good thing to have then, like I do, where it has where I have a low optical sensor to tell me when the sump is low, and that would be a good investment, I would say. What's really nice with Neptune though is you can buy their ATK kit, which comes with the FMM, which gives you 2 extra ports, and you can buy an optical sensor, and they're not that expensive. I think they're $30, and you just pop an optical sensor in for low sump.
I have one in my auto top off bin, so if I don't fill it up, it'll be like, hey, fill me up.
Yep. I love
reminders.
I love those things.
Oh, super handy. Can you get notification if power has gone out when gone and when power turns on? Yes, you can.
Yes.
You can.
So a lot of people don't know this, but the Apex has a 12-volt plug on it. The 12-volt plug is not meant to power the Apex. The 12-volt plug is actually meant to inform the Apex whether or not you have power. So what you do is you program, there's actually something inside the Apex called power management. You have to turn that on, and then you plug your 12-volt power adapter into live power, no battery backup, has to be into live power directly. And then when that loses power, as long as your Apex is on a battery backup, you will get an alert because it will say, hey, you lost power.
Yep. Or if you have it through Fusion, I mean, Heartbeat, I guess you can get alert that way as well as another
Correct.
thing. You won't be able to do anything.
The only problem with the Heartbeat is it takes a while. It takes probably, I believe, 30 minutes to an hour to update.
Okay.
So if you were to have something pretty severe in that 30 minutes, for me at least, I want to know I want to know immediately when the power goes out. That's just me.
A question for you: are your two tanks plumbed together, or are they separate?
They are completely separate.
Okay.
However, the Apex is shared.
Okay. And are they
on a 90-foot USB cable through the attic in this house?
Nice. Did you have
I used to have two.
Is it a regular USB, or did you have to use like a powered extender for that long?
I actually bought the ones that Neptune sells just because I figured why not, and they sell 30-foot extensions, and you can bring that up to 120 feet with no problem.
Impressive, actually. It goes that far. Nice.
Yeah, works great. Excellent. And I used to have two Apex systems, and I just started to say, this is stupid. I got to keep going to Fusion and switching back and forth. So I just put everything on the one Apex.
So on your assumingly crazy dashboard, did you just divide it by columns for the tanks?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. That took me a while, actually. Surprisingly, when you have too much stuff, they don't really give you options to make it clean and easy. So my dashboard is so large that I got to keep scrolling and scrolling to some of it. And I hope they come up with like groups or something, or ability for me to put like this fish tank on this side and this fish tank on the other side.
Or little tabs or some way to make it separate.
For us crazy people. I don't know if you mentioned, but I have 29 Neptune modules in my system.
What's the limit? 30? 31?
I believe the limit is 48.
Oh, okay, you're fine. You got room to grow still. You got room for future modules.
Yeah.
So what's the most non-standard oddball thing you think you've done to automate things?
Man, I've done a lot of crazy stuff. Let's see. You know, I have 2 liter meters that do automatic water changes for both of my tanks. I also have a calc reactor that goes through the liter meter that tells me that doses calc along with my calcium reactor.
Are the liter meters the SpectraPure auto water change ones? Okay.
They are. And for anybody out there that's trying to do an automatic water change system, I can't tell you how great these things are. Specifically for me, because I'm pumping water across the house. Yeah. They can pump up to 75 feet straight up.
That's pretty good.
I did use the dose in the beginning, and it was so loud that it was waking me up. So it was also very slow. When you're trying to, I have a 300-gallon tank. When you're trying to do, 7 gallons a day, let's say, for water changing, that thing just won't cut it. So the liter meter was awesome.
Nice. Okay, that's good to know. So they've been solid. You're happy with them? I've debated those before, so good to know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other oddball things I have or I have done. Yeah, I got sensors galore, I can tell you that much.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I have chillers on the tank. I have a venting system in my one tank for the heat, and I have a venting system on this tank for the heat.
Where do you vent to? Like just through your garage, like where the sump area is, or out of the garage? Or
so in the one behind me, there's a vent going into my laundry room that vents out the chiller. In my big tank, I have a vent that actually goes outside. It's an industrial fan. It's loud as can be. I had to put all this sealant on the doors to keep it from being so loud. But it does vent out the heat. It vents out the heat very well, and it's loud. Yeah. I had to get a special variable knob. Wait till you see this. I got to get it. I have a variable knob to adjust the fan speed because it's so loud.
Nice. That's great. Does he surge his return? Looks like it in my view. That's from Brightwell Aquatics.
What was he asking? I'm sorry.
Does your return pump surge?
Not at all.
No?
Not at all.
Harkins Aquatics was asking, do you use the same salt for both tanks?
Yes, I use the same. I use the same reservoir, RO reservoir, and saltwater reservoir for both tanks.
Yep.
They both have tubes going between both tanks to facilitate the auto water change and the auto top off.
Yeah, nice.
And I have very much so thought about plumbing the two tanks together, but the tanks are very far from each other. They're probably about 75 feet away from each other.
Yep. That's a good distance.
Yeah.
Now, do they? So they're separate systems, right? They don't share a salt
Correct.
or anything.
They're completely
okay.
separate. Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. Do you have Rfg nozzles? Someone's like, I see them in the back.
I do.
There you go.
I do.
You were right.
I actually have 4 power heads in here. Let's see if I can show you a few things.
Yeah.
So I got my MP40 right there. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
And then way in the little back, you see the little J-bow back there?
Yep.
So I got 4 pumps in here. And I love it. That's enough flow. I mean, I bought those, the little, I don't even know who makes those. The things that move the water everywhere.
Like the sea swirls or the RFGs, or which ones are you talking about?
Yeah, are they called RFGs?
RFGs are those little nozzles that you have on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I ended up not really needing them. I mean, I have so much flow in this tank that it's really overkill. I mean, I do have a lot of SPS on the top, so I think that helps. So here, I'll show you kind of while I'm moving about. So this thing snaps right off, and I can get to everything I need to get to.
No, it's handy you can actually get to it from above, because I see a lot of times people that have in-wall tanks always complain trying to escape it or do stuff because you can't really see what you're doing from the part where you're viewing it from. A little more of a challenge.
Yeah, the only challenge is getting it back on sometimes.
Yeah. That looks good when you snap it back on, though. You almost can't even tell it's removable.
Yeah, so I'll show you kind of what it looks like here. So this is my kitchen. This is my kitchen area, and it's in the wall there.
Nice. Nice view from eating at the kitchen. I like it. So do you want to go check out the sump? Go see all your crazy mad scientist layer of automation?
All right. Okay. So you can see my water heater here. The tank is actually right there.
Okay.
Nice. This is in my garage. And then I have 2 large tanks there. They're 65-gallon Nesco or Nesco, I think. You can pick them up at the Tractor Supply store. Phenomenal pieces there.
Nice.
The one's salt water that I mix every week and one is my top-off water.
You change 60 gallons a week between the 2 tanks?
That's right.
It's a good chunk.
Yeah. So, I got my 7-stage RO unit here.
Okay, wait, 7 stages.
Yeah, that is a 7.
Mine's only 5, so you're more hardcore than me. So are the last 3 all DIs, or do you got the 3 separated resins, like the anide and canide or whatever it is?
What you said second is the 3 separate ones. Yeah. Okay. I had to get this is a 200-gallon per hour unit that I got. I had to get a booster pump for. You have to have a booster pump. And then you can maybe see I have a salinity monitor there to tell me what the salinity is in the salt tank.
Does that work well?
It does. It's actually very accurate. Yes. Nice. I do clean it. I clean it about once a month. Okay. Just to make sure. But if you look, I'm trying to see where the camera's facing, but you'll see I have 2 solenoids there. See the 2 solenoids? Yep. So the 2 solenoids go back to my apex. And what they do is one turns on when one of the reservoirs gets low, and the other one turns on when the other reservoir gets low. Okay. And there's a high and low sensor in both of these to indicate when it needs to come on and when it needs to turn off.
Okay, now question. So you have solenoids that will automatically fill up your bins when it needs to happen.
That's right.
What if you forget to mix salt in it and it keeps auto dosing your tank?
Well, you're challenging me. So I will show you what happens.
Okay.
Now here's my dashboard, and right there I have something called RO salt status. Now I don't know if you
so
can see
flip
that.
switch. Okay.
Okay. So how I've programmed this is when it gets to the top sensor of my salt bin, it alerts me. Tells me, hey, you just filled up your salt again. You need to put salt in there.
Yep.
And the auto top or the automatic water change system, which are those 2 liter meters, turn off.
Good man. Okay.
And they will not turn back on until I go to my dashboard and say, hey, I did my salt mixing. It's ready to go. Here you go.
Perfect. Okay. Good.
And you will see up there is my ReefBot.
Nice.
And that is a 5 liter RO unit.
Did you automate
topping off? That.
Did you automate topping off the RO for it yet?
I have not, and the reason I have not is because ReefBot doesn't really give you any way of knowing other than, hey, your RO is low.
Yep.
So which I've spoke to them, they apparently have an API eventually that'll allow you to send signals between the 2 systems. And when they do, of course, I'm going to program when the ReefBot tells me it's low, it's going to fill up for me. Absolutely.
Nice. They actually at Machina, they said they released their API for it.
Yep. So I have two FMMs here.
Yep.
And I have a little four port power. And you can see one of them does the fish tank liter meter, one of them does the reef tank liter meter, one of them does my auto top off for their tank, and one of them is a safety valve. I have a safety valve on my water input, so in case there's a leak, it automatically kills the water coming into the garage.
Nice. What's the little box between those 2 cords underneath your UB4?
That is a Ecotech Vectra.
Yep.
And it is sitting right there. And this is my mixing department here.
It's a hardcore mixing pump. I like it.
And you can see I have a little extension. So if I ever need to just grab salt water, I just turn the valve and I have fresh salt water whenever I need it.
Nice. Now, does yours mix all the time, or does it just do intermittently?
All the time.
Okay.
It's mixing 24/7. And I found that the salinity stays more stable if I do that.
Okay.
I also found that the only salt, I've tried about 5 different salts that will stay in the reservoir without getting gunk, is Fauna Marin Pro Salt.
Oh, really?
Every other salt I've used, for some reason, gets scum in the bottom of this thing, and I have to clean it. Ever since I've got this salt, I haven't had that problem once.
Nice.
Whether or not the salt is good or doing well for my tank, I haven't seen any, ill effects. So.
Okay. No, good to know.
But yeah. So, all right. So the side of my tank, you will see I have my MP40 controls right there.
Yep.
The other side of the tank is where I put my Trident.
Nice.
And I have basically the same setup there.
It's nicely on that little cubby there.
Let me know if you can't see anything, by the way, because I'm kind of not looking. So I have...
Wait, are you on your iPad right now, or what are you on?
I'm on my iPad right now.
I think there's a little button to flip the camera so you can see what you're looking at. There you go. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. I didn't even know you could do that. All right. Perfect.
Beautiful.
All right. So there's my iPad. That sits up top here.
Yep.
This is, like I said, something I do for a living, so it's pretty easy to get one of these. Basically, it's just a power cord right here, and it dumps onto my screen here, which keeps this thing powered 24/7. And this is a little iPad mini that controls it.
Perfect.
And then I mount all my junk right here.
Nice little breathable door.
I got a lot of stuff in here. I got a PM1. That's my leak detector there. I got more FMMs than I can count. Here's one in here. There's 2 over there. There's one sump, which we're going to see in a second. There's 2 in my reef tank, or my other tank too.
Now, are these mainly for optical sensors, or is a lot of it for actual flow sensors as well?
Flow sensors and optical sensors, specifically, is what I use them for.
Brightwell Aquatics was asking, do you have any temperature issues with the fish room being in the garage and living in Phoenix?
I have an air-conditioned garage.
There you go. Perfect.
So, yeah, trust me, that was a big thinking point when we did this. Is there going to be a heat issue?
So you got the Vertex calcium reactor, Kimura FXSTP pump.
So this I copied from you directly. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I saw your video and I go, this is the one I'm buying.
Nice.
So up here is my ozone generator. This is I forgot who makes it. You guys might be able to read it upside down there. Ozotech, I think.
Okay. Yep.
And it is a light-driven ozone. It is not corona discharge.
How do you find it works well? I've only tried corona discharge personally. I haven't tried the
phenomenal.
Nice.
And the great part about it is you don't have to have an air dryer.
Mm-hmm.
So you can stick it anywhere.
Nice.
And you just have to check and see the lights on the side there. The lights on the side, then you know you're doing good.
How often do you have to change the bulbs in those?
I just got this about 4 months ago, so I don't know yet. But from my experience, because I've had one of these before, I have an ozone generator on my 300.
Mm-hmm.
They last about a year.
Okay.
Yeah. Depends on how much you run it, you know.
Yeah. Do you park your car in the garage?
I do park my car in the garage.
Someone asked, can car CO2 affect the calcium reactor? I don't think it's on long enough to have an effect because the door is open, you drive in. But
yeah, so he brought up a really good question. There's my car. You will see there's a vent right there, and there's my air conditioner.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you vent your garage, you won't have an issue.
Okay.
If you keep your garage kind of sealed, you can start to get some CO2, which unfortunately I've started to experience a very low pH in this tank when my wife leaves her car on and goes in the garage.
Yes.
But I've since we haven't had that issue, as long as you turn off your car. I mean,
yeah,
I know it sounds crazy, but just
leave it running and run around the house for 10 minutes. And yeah.
So I do have a dose back there. It is dosing aminos.
Okay.
I have an amino. I use AcroPower right now. Which is great because AcroPower, you don't have to refrigerate or anything. You just stick it in there. And I will tell you, from when I started using this, it helps. I mean, you start to see some crazy stuff with your acros. So nice. I'm not actually using the other side of the dose, and I actually have another dose sitting over here that I don't know what I'm going to do with. So if anybody wants one, let me know.
Yeti.
So there's my chiller.
Yep.
And then there's my battery backup. And then I'll show you how the vent works. Because before, when we first did this, this whole section, the calcium reactor and this cabinet were so hot that I was feeling the heat when I'd come in the garage. And it was actually affecting the air conditioning. So I thought, well, what a great idea. Because I have my laundry room right here. There's a vent. And there's a fan there.
Nice. So you're cycling a lot of air through just to be safe.
And I'm sure no one's asked about my electric bill, and you probably shouldn't.
How scary is it? And how much of it do you think is the tank? Actually, the Apex tells you if you put in your power consumption.
Yeah.
What's it cost you in power?
My monthly bill for electricity is $530-something.
And how much of it's the tank?
Pretty much all of it.
Fair enough.
Now, I am in Arizona. Here in Arizona, our electric is quite ridiculous. It really is.
Yeah.
So I'll show you. Hopefully this doesn't blind you guys, but here's my cabinet that opens up on top. And then I have my hybrid T5 lighting system.
Nice.
So I have a hybrid, what's the company? Aquatic
Life.
And two Ecotech Radion with diffusers there.
Nice.
And I love it. For anyone that's looking at new lights, what's nice is you can get any T5 bulb you want. And you can just tune in your LEDs to how you want them to make sure you have enough power.
Yeah.
So my T5s are just the blues. I don't have anything else but blues. And then my buddy who built this, he's actually, I think, on the stream, Desert Reef Aquatics.
Yep, he's in here.
Yeah, he built this whole thing. And I asked him when he did this, I go, it would be nice to have a shelf up there. So I have a gigantic shelf up there for storing all of my fish stuff. And I'm
perfect.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, it's something you don't consider, but I always get in heck for having fish stuff all over the place.
When we first actually did this, we did not have this cabinet. It was not here. And this garage was like a Christmas tree. It was so lit up in here. I was getting blinded. So I'm like, we need to build some doors. So we built some doors.
Perfect. Good way to hide it all.
So as you'll see when I open the door, I have a light that comes on. When I close the door, the light shuts off.
Are you just using a little magnetic reed switch for that or something else?
Yep.
Yep. Nice.
So that's probably the coolest thing I have out of everything.
out of thousands of dollars of equipment, you're like, the light turns on.
Yeah. All right. So we have a calc reactor there, and that comes from my auto top off using the liter meter. Like I said, the liter meter does all of my water transport from my reservoirs. There's my skimmer container. Since my job for a living has been home automation, wire management, plumbing. So I am a very, very much so an OCD neat freak. So everything you'll see is zip tied, nice and neat. I'm very particular. I label all my wires so I know where everything is.
I appreciate that though. It's good. Makes it easy to maintain and it looks good.
There's FMM number 300 right over there.
So did it make you cringe inside when you saw like my disaster because my tank's moving soon?
I did, and I think I called you on it a few times, but it's okay. I got wiring going all the way up here. So this is a manifold system. I actually got this idea from my buddy Aaron, and I love it. I love having the manifold. So I have a Vectra pump here, pumps into this little manifold up here. One of it goes to my clear water scrubber here, and then one of it goes to the chiller. And then I have another one right there. So what I can do, if I ever want to add a reactor here, I can just add a reactor whenever I want. Let's say my phosphates are getting up. I just add a reactor right there.
Nice.
I also have another one here, and I'll give you 10 points if you figure out what that's going to be used for.
Future expansion.
That is going to be used for a frag tank.
Oh, nice.
So
Excellent.
we are going to plumb something at some point and put a frag tank over here.
I like it.
At some point. And that's why there's an extra emergency drain open, because that's where that's going to be going.
Perfect. So you have a calc reactor. Are you using that to try and raise your pH from the calcium reactor, or is that for extra supplementation?
That's correct. Raise pH. I'm struggling with pH. It's been an issue for me for quite a while. I've been talking to many people trying to fix the pH issue. I believe this is going to be the fix. I added this last week, and my pH is up to 8.07. That is the highest it's ever been.
8.07?
Yes. Now, if this does the trick, I'm going to eliminate the calc reactor, because I don't really see the need for it, as it's being literally just used for pH boosting. Because the calcium reactor does all the supplementation.
How's the CO2 media working for you?
I use Reborn.
Sorry, not the reactor media. The Kalkwasser pellets, whatever you call them.
Kalkwasser pellets. I'm sorry, I don't understand.
On the back, right, plugged into your skimmer, the CO2 absorbing media.
Oh, you mean the CO2 scrubber?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have it recirculating. I saw the BRS videos, and I can tell you I haven't touched this in a week, and it's still bright white. So
has it made a big impact?
Yeah. My highest, typically in the night, my pH was 7.7, sometimes 7.75.
Yeah.
My day was typically 7.85, 7.9. I can tell you, we're going to go look right now. Look at how high my pH is, and I am happy about this, by the way, everyone.
8.06, nice.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have the Theling
roller mat. How do you like that one?
Love this thing.
Nice.
This is the greatest filter roller there is. And I have two Clarices.
Yep.
I'm going to show you those in a bit.
Yep.
This is the easiest thing to service. All you do is you take this pipe out, you remove this, pop into this, done. There's nothing more to it.
Nice.
It's super simple.
Nice.
This thing lasts quite a while.
Okay. Whenever there's filter rollers, people always ask how long it lasts. So how often do you change the roll?
This is the second roll I've had since the tank's been up. 4.5 months. This is the second roll. Okay, and so you can see it barely is even on.
Nice.
Greatest invention for our tanks. Greatest invention.
Beauty. Okay, so someone else was just asking, why not run an airline outdoors to your skimmer? So sucking outside air.
Okay, done that. Doesn't work.
No?
You will maybe see it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff, unfortunately. There is a tube right down there somewhere.
Okay.
I can't get to it. Anyway,
okay. I'll trust
I
you.
ran that tube into the skimmer. I think it's too far away from the skimmer.
Okay.
I think it doesn't work because of that. I can tell you that I tried that and I could not get a higher pH from it.
Okay.
So I did try that. So moving on to section 2. I got my skimmer. Obviously, I do ozone, and I believe you asked the question: does ozone affect this? I can tell you, I haven't seen any issues with it for about 2 weeks.
Excellent.
No ill effects. The skimmer's producing normally. I believe it's fine because I think the ozone's getting broken down before it even gets to that.
Probably. It has a very short half-life. Is your skimmer the NIOS 160 or 220?
That's a 160.
160? Okay, nice.
And what's great about
you have a neck cleaner. Which one do you retrofit on there?
That is a Vectra.
Or Vertex?
Vertex.
Vertex?
Yeah,
nice.
And I just got a special lid for it.
Yeah, I like it.
The great thing about this, if you're going to run ozone, is you do not smell the ozone anymore. This carbon thing that I have is useless because when you have it circulating, the air never gets released into the air. So I never smell it anymore.
Nice. That's a good benefit.
Yeah. So there's my Trident input. You will see that's where my algae turf scrubber comes out. That's my outlet for the turf scrubber. 4 dosers, one's aminos, one's calcium reactor, one's the auto water change, which is going right now, and one is auto top off.
Nice. How often do you clean your turf scrubber?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks? Okay.
Every 2 weeks. Yep.
It's working well?
Yeah, absolutely. I will tell you that this is a clear water.
Yep.
I had the only issue I've had with it was I had some leaks, and Josh over there sent me a new pipe, and that fixed the problem.
Perfect.
But it works really well now. And I say now because it takes a while for these things to grow. Like, I don't know if anyone has algae turf scrubbers, but this thing took like 2 or 3 months to really start growing.
But when I had mine going, it actually worked surprisingly quick. I was impressed with how quick it kicked in. Yeah. But I might throw it on the office tank. So that's curious.
But I have a nutrient issue in my tank. So I have a ultra low nutrient system, which I'm trying to actually fix. That's why. So the turf scrubber is actually doing its job too well.
Yeah.
All right, there's my buddies, my optical sensors.
Many opticals.
You'll see I have a high, an auto top off sensor, and there's my low sensor. Tell me when it's sump's low. And then of course I told you I have a Vectra, so there's my Vectra.
Yeah. Nice.
I think the optical sensors are the coolest thing. I have a flow sensor on the scrubber.
Yep.
And I have a flow sensor on the main return up here.
Now, okay, 2 questions. So one, the flow sensor on the scrubber, do you use that just to dial it in, or are you like, it's getting clogged up, or I need to clean it? Like, will the flow slow down as it gets full of algae and blocking the ports a bit?
The flow never slows down with these guys.
Okay.
What happens is when indeed it does clog up, the emergency comes in.
Yep.
So you'll never get these to clog up, and therefore the flow will never stop.
Okay.
The reason I have it is because I'm running off of a manifold. So in order for me to adjust exactly how much flow I want to run through it, I have to have a flow sensor to indicate my flow.
Gotcha.
Which you do with a UV also, which you'll see on my other tank.
Now, just because I know you love optical sensors, you could put another one in the emergency to send you an alert if it ever gets wet from ever overflowing.
That's true. I could do that. Yeah, there's a lot of things I've thought about, and I do have an extra port on my FMM here, so I could add whatever the heck I want here.
Nice.
Aaron
was asking, how much flow are you running on your return pump?
So this is an L1 or L2, I think. It's rated for 3,000 gallons per hour. My flow is about 350 when you run it through all of this stuff. Surprisingly, I mean, we're talking maybe a 3-foot head here, maybe 4-foot head. But you got to consider it's going this way, it's going that way, it's going through the chiller, it's going, and this is the biggest pump I can fit in the sump. So, and that's an L2. Like I said, that's
most of your chamber.
Yeah, it's a big pump.
Are you running it on full or dialed down?
Full. Oh yeah, 100%. For anybody that's interested in doing manifolds, I can't stress enough how many unions you want to have. I have a union just about on every single thing, and it helps me if I ever have to remove anything. So
it's also wise though too, because if you change it, you don't bugger up your whole manifold, right? You can just buy a new union and just make a new connector for it.
Oh yeah, I love it. I could tell you, and I'm sure everyone out there, is like, oh my God, this is a lot of stuff. How do you keep up with all this stuff? I can tell you with my experience, it's fun. It's just fun. And my fish and my corals and everything are so happy. So it's not like I'm doing all this stuff to the detriment of my corals or anything.
It's fun.
It's so much fun.
Yep.
If you have a hobby, it should have fun. And if you could spend the kind of money on this, just do it. It's just so much fun.
It is. Okay, Chad was just asking, I've been wanting an Apex. Do you recommend buying it as a beginner setup? If you have the extra money to burn, they're good to have. You don't need all this automation, but it does make your life easier. Need no, nice yes. There's a lot of things that you can do. Like you could, auto top off by hand and dump water in every day, or you could automate it, right? You could dose by hand, or you could automate it. There's all these things that you don't need, but they definitely make your life easier. And if you're like me, I'd probably forget to do it or miss a day because you're out too late or something. Then this way it just happens all the time, automated. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, when I first started doing all this crazy stuff to my tank, I can't see it as being worthless anymore. I know a lot of people think, well, why do you have all this stuff? And
this is fun.
And then right, but the other thing you got to think about is, what if something happens? What if this happens? I have a coral in here that's, I think, $300 a head. I've had it for only a couple months. That's just one coral out of my, I got tons of coral in here. I'll show you again, and I'm proud of it. I mean, I got so many frag plugs, and those are all my rockin' enemies right there. I got 2 clams in here. There's my acans right here. So to answer that guy's question, what if something happened to this tank? I would be devastated. It would be like losing a child.
Yeah.
For all the work that I've done and for all of the amount of hours I've spent setting this up, having automation makes it so I don't have to worry about that. I can go to sleep at night and know when I wake up in the morning, everything's gonna be fine. And if it's not, I'm gonna get an alarm that's gonna wake me up.
Yep.
Tell me, hey, check it out.
It's a good way to do it.
Let's go take a look at the other one.
Okay.
While I'm up in mobile. I don't get up in mobile very often.
So do you have any other alarms aside from the pop-up on your phone if something was to happen? Do you have any visual or audio alarms?
Yes, you have to have a display in order to get an alarm. What was I saying? I'm sorry.
Audible alarm.
Audible alarm. That's right. You have to have the display. So I have 2 displays that are relatively loud. So I don't really run into that issue. But I do keep my phone on me next to the tank, next to me when I sleep. That will alert me if anything on the Neptune starts going ballistic.
David was asking, how do you protect against siphoning? Have you tested many failure modes? I think he's saying is if your power is out or something, would anything siphon back? Yeah,
absolutely. Every time I go on vacation, it is a 3-hour testing.
Really?
That's
impressive.
Correct.
That is impressive.
I test everything. I test power outages. I test if there was a leak. I test everything. I have no choice.
You are a very diligent man. Props to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said, I take a lot of pride in my fish tanks. I love this stuff. Like, I absolutely love reef stuff. I mean, I've been doing this seriously since I was 5 years old. I had my first freshwater fish tank when I was about six-ish. And when I bought this house, I said, I'm putting a 300-gallon fish tank in the wall, which is what I did.
Nice. Love it.
So this is only fish.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and the gentleman I mentioned earlier, Desert Reef, built this.
Nice.
So this is my pride and joy. The only thing that I kind of get a little bit upset about is the fact that it is in a room that I don't really use that much. That's my dining room. And, I spend most of my time here in my family room. Mm-hmm. And as you can see, the couches are facing
away.
So I don't really get to see it. Whereas in my kitchen, I can see that tank all the way from my family room. Mm-hmm. And when I'm eating breakfast or dinner, I can see that tank.
Nice.
So this is more.
You're gonna have to use that bench seat in there more.
So this is more, I would say, honestly, of a piece of art than an actual tank that I, work on.
Yep.
I actually have a gentleman over here in Southwest Seas here in Arizona that cleans this tank for me.
Nice.
Because I can't clean this tank. All these fake corals have to come out. They have to be bleached. It's about a 7-hour ordeal to clean this tank.
So are you saying fake corals are more effort to maintain than real corals?
Once a month, yes. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
And I can tell you that it takes them a long time to do it, and I don't want to do it.
That's fair. Do you have any real corals in there?
I do. I have one.
A bubble tip?
Well, those aren't corals, but yeah, I have 2 bubble tip anemones right there. I got a lot of chocolate chips. Yep. Here's one up here. Mm-hmm. A lot of chocolate chips. And I have my awesome mushrooms.
Nice.
The reason they're in there, obviously, is because they got too big for their tank, and I threw them in here.
And you couldn't kill them if you tried.
Yeah. But nitrates and phosphates are very high in this tank. I have a lot of fish. So putting any type of corals in here, first of all, I have a ton of fish that will eat coral. Ton of them. That hogfish, if I throw any invertebrate in here, that thing is gone within 2 seconds.
Yeah.
There's my flamingo. I've had him for a long time. I have a black trigger right here, and he will eat anything, including your fingers, in this tank.
Oh, a friendly guy.
So I can't put any corals in here, unfortunately. And I thought about it. Me and my wife actually thought about it before doing that other tank. Let's just convert this guy, right? That would be awesome. I mean, I have enough plumbing. I have enough everything I need. But I have to get rid of half my fish.
What about soft corals, like echidna trees and like toadstools and stuff like that?
Well, my buddy told me to try this. Try the mushrooms, see how they do. They're doing okay. I'm not going to say those things are flourishing because they're not.
They're surviving.
But they're alive, so technically I could.
Yep.
But for people that don't have a fish-only tank, for a non-reefer, if you walk into my house, you're going to think that's real coral immediately.
It's true.
You're going to come in and you're going to think that's all real. Which we know it's not. Reefers know it's not.
What I would do just for fun, if it was me, like some of those like ones that are plating like in the top right, I would take like not a Monty, like a Favia or something like that, and like an encrusting one put on top and let it just grow over top of that. Something that we can't really get nipped on. That would be a fun experiment.
Yeah, I mean, I believe I have the lights to grow coral. My lights aren't great. These are current USA's, but they're great for this. I mean, I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. And they grow less algae.
Yep. But you'll see I have an apex back there, of course.
So what are you doing for automation on this system?
This one's a lot more basic. A lot of this tank is strictly alerts and issues, but it's way less complex than the other tank. But keep in mind that both of these tanks, even though this thing's far away from where we just were, have the same reservoir to support their auto top off and saltwater, and the apex comes over here.
How hard is it to run a line all the way across your house?
Well, like I said, that's part of what I do for a living. I do home theater and home automation systems, so I have guys that run wires every day. It's very easy. And as long as you're running very good RO tubing, you don't have to worry about heat or anything, anything bothering it.
Okay, so if you were to go through a wall and up an attic and stuff, would you use connectors or would you keep it one solid piece of
One
tubing?
solid, definitely. One
Yeah.
solid.
No risk of leaks. Connectors.
Yeah, all of the RO tubing, and there's only actually 2 RO tubes that go out here, one for auto top off and one for the auto water change.
What? So is that 3?
No, because the auto water change drain is behind this tank.
Okay, nice. That's handy.
But the actual water coming in is only 1 tube from the garage, and then the other one's from the RO.
Tina was asking if he has the Marine IC Pros and do they grow SPS?
Marine IC Pros.
I'm assuming that's to do with your lighting, but you don't have SPS in the tank, so.
Yeah, these are the current USA Orbit system. I actually really like it. It's the Loop Orbit system. I don't know if you can.
I've heard of it. I've never tried it.
It's actually really easy to work with and really nice. Whether or not it can grow corals, I have no idea.
That's fair.
This just lights up my tank.
The NEM's in there. It's happy. It's alive.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone else also asking, so what's a good brand of RO tubing? Like what would be your go-to to go through walls and attics and wherever you want to take it?
So what's nice is I live very close to SpectraPure. They're out in Tempe, Arizona.
Nice.
I just go over there. So to answer your question, SpectraPure, they have a website. You can buy anything you need.
Yep.
As I'm sure you saw, all of my RO is bulk reef supply, but all of my parts come from SpectraPure.
I have their 5-stage 180 gallon per day. It's been, or maybe it's 7, whatever the stage is, but it's been solid.
Yeah, they are the nicest people too. When you go in there, they're so nice. They have a fantastic little reef tank when you walk in there.
Nice.
So they know their reef stuff. I just get spools from them, 50-foot spools, and just hold on to it in my garage when I need it.
Perfect.
And was it Vicky or Nikki's question? I live in Arizona, so my attics get about 150 degrees. So if I can tell you that I run the right tubing because I haven't had any issues in years.
Perfect. I might actually, you may have inspired me to run mine through my attic and pipe them into one rather than trying to do 2 separate systems.
It's great. It's just so easy just to walk in my garage and fix what I got to fix, not having reservoirs everywhere.
Rob's Reefer's asking, so do you use 2-liter meters for the auto water changes? Which
That's
I believe
correct.
you do. Yeah.
One for the big tank and one for the small tank. They both are also hooked up to the Neptune 4 EB4, so that way I can shut them off if there's an issue, such as my high or low sensor goes off. It will shut off the liter meter, and therefore it won't function.
Perfect.
Which is great, because that thing you can just turn off and on whenever you want. You don't have to worry about that.
No, that's
all
perfect.
right. You ready for Mario Brothers?
Yeah, we are. Let's do this.
So same thing. I put sensors on here to turn on the light.
Yep.
It's invaluable to have a sump light.
I remember this sump. So you have dual filter rollers in this one.
I do.
That's very hardcore. Why 2?
Because I have 2 overflow boxes.
Okay, fair enough.
I have one on the left and one on the right.
Okay.
And for some reason, I thought 300 gallons of water, this many fish, I'm going to be replacing this filter roller every week.
That's true. You got a lot of fish in that tank. Okay.
I have 2 filter rollers. I have not replaced one of these in probably 5 months.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
Yes, 5 months.
Nice.
So having 2 of them allows me the flexibility of not having to replace them constantly, which is fantastic. And I love these Clara C's. So the Clara C, what's awesome, my friend Aaron did here, is he plumbed the bottom of it to all the way around here to these with unions, obviously.
Yep.
So my Clara C's, whether you notice there's no pipe going through.
Yeah.
The pipe actually is in the sump and comes around like this. It's pretty cool.
I like it. Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
You're opening up ideas. I like this.
So this is my big boy. This thing is huge.
You got the big
guys
scrubber.
Probably can't tell from the video. This is a big piece of equipment.
Now, okay, now is that the double one or like compared to the one on your other tank?
This is the CW 300. The
Okay.
one on my other tank is a CW 50.
Okay.
It's about the quarter of the size of this thing.
Okay.
We had to build a special little stand for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's probably, no joke, 20 inches by 13 inches, I would say.
Okay.
It's huge. So there's a flow sensor on this, like I was telling you.
Yep. So this is to keep up with all the nutrients from all the big fish in your fish-only tank.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
And then I have a little reactor here just for phosphate.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get the algae turf scrubber to kill enough phosphate in this tank, I'll eliminate this. But I have a lot of fish, and I can tell you phosphate is the hardest thing to maintain in this tank.
Yeah.
Okay. I have my ozone generator over here, and that is also a light-driven ozone, as I said earlier. And that goes into my skimmer, which I bought a skimmer extender, and this is a Regal 250.
Nice.
Which I love these guys.
Actually, side question: how many watts of UV for your ozone are you using with the bulb?
You know, I don't know.
Okay.
I just know how many milligrams per hour it puts out.
How many milligrams is it?
360.
That's a good chunk. Okay.
Yeah. Well, for a big tank, you're going to need a big ozone generator to really make any type of dent.
And how often do you run it?
I actually, you know, I took your advice for a little while. I started running it only a couple hours every day. It wasn't really working that well for me. I started to get some weird algae and some other stuff going on. I spoke to the company that builds these guys. They said just to run it off your ORP. So I run it off my ORP now, and it sits between 375 and 400 all day.
Nice.
And you can see how clear my tank is. It's
looks
super
good.
Clear.
Between the filter rollers and the ozone, it's super clear. So Aaron's asking, how much do you feed daily and what do you feed?
Okay, so I have 2 auto feeders. I have an auto feeder on the small tank too. And I feed twice a day, pellets.
Okay.
And from time to time, I'll throw in some mysis and some other stuff. I'm going to tell you, I've had this guy, Flamingi guy here, for 7 years. I don't know if you could see how big
he's massive.
Okay. I also have a hawkfish in here that looks like he's pregnant. She's pregnant. And I just feed pellets.
Really?
I feed Dainichi pellets.
I've not heard of that brand.
And I've been feeding Dainichi pellets for about 10 years. And the results are clear in my tank. I don't see the need to feed them anything else.
Nice.
Sometimes for a snack, you know, I might feed them some mysis or shrimp or something, but they all eat it.
They're plump and happy.
They all are big, healthy, and colorful. So, nice. So we got the same. Most of this is the same setup as the small tank. I try to keep everything the same.
You got neck cleaners on both your skimmers.
Yep, and that's a Vertex too.
Yep.
You will see there's tons of pipe. And me and Aaron had a fun time plumbing this tank. They have 4 holes in the bottom of the tank, and then 4 holes for the overflows.
So you have dual overflows. Now that always seems to like boggle me a bit of how you like balance that and try and make it silent with like multiple overflows, or do you just tune them each as their own system basically?
You know, you bring up a good point. We noticed that since one pipe is so much farther away from the other pipe, that you can tell by my clarices that one has a higher water level than the other. So to combat this, you open the little door. And that actually fixes what you just said with the clarices, because you have more water going through one than you do on the other.
The one gets a little bit of a bypass.
Yep. And that's how you fix it.
Desert Reef Aquatic says, when you could upgrade those filter rollers so you can have one.
Yeah, he's the one that built all this.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so there's a ton of pipe in here, because we had to, we had to get to all of these different things. This was quite a engineering feat, I have to say. I mean, we got pipes going around pipes. We have, I don't know if you can see, there's a pipe going in here. There's a pipe going around here. There's a pipe going down in here.
Jenga to build and change that baby.
Yeah. But the great thing is we have unions on everything that we would ever have to get to.
Nice.
And most of
Smart.
it's disassembled pretty easily if we have to. I don't know if you could see, but behind the sump is my Neptune for this system. And there's 6 more modules back here. That's why we call us control freaks.
Okay.
Kind of crazy.
This is going to be a scary question, but earlier someone asked how much do you think you spent on your tanks, automation, everything.
Wow.
I know. You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
I can tell you this without really giving you a number. One of the things that I love to do when I built this tank was to go on Bulk Reef to Supply and going on every single category and buying something from every single category because I figured I would need it. And returning about half of it, by the way. But my point is, I don't really know. I mean, I buy what I believe I'm going to need to keep me from having to mess with stuff, first of all, and second, alerts. You know, having the ability not to worry is huge for me. I work all day. You know, I like to relax and, you know, do other things. And my fish tank having problems every 5 minutes is not something me and my wife would be able to deal with. Even though I do work on the tank constantly, I have fun working on the tank. But working on problems, I don't have fun.
In the chat, they're like 20K, 40K, 20K, 40K.
I'll give you this. This entire tank, when it was built, the cabinetry, the stand, the tank itself, without coral or without rock, without sand, without anything, was $8,000.
Okay. Yeah, good chunk.
Okay. That's without all of the plumbing, and that's without all the fish and everything.
You can extrapolate from there.
Yeah. So just that'll give you an idea. So that's door number 1.
Yep. But wait, what's behind door number 2?
This side not as fun. Okay, so one of the coolest things I have, which I was telling you earlier, Devin, is I have a chiller in here. And a lot of people say, well, wait a second, you can't put a chiller inside a cabinet. But I do, because I have an industrial fan behind this thing.
Suck it out.
That
Nice.
vents out to the outside. And it's so loud, I don't know if you guys can hear it right now, that I had to get this very special thing that I found in Europe, I believe. I bought it from Germany, I think. It looks like something out of World War II. This is a voltage regulator. This
for the fan?
Up and down and because it's so loud.
That's fair. Do you hear a lot of it when you are like the cabinet's closed?
You do not, because I have weather stripping on these doors. I don't know if you can see here.
To fully seal it. Okay.
Fully sealed. I don't know how well you guys can hear it from my iPad, but if I close this guy up, watch.
Yeah, that's a pretty impressive difference.
Yeah, so.
Nice.
So we got the 2 pumps. One pump feeds the chiller and just the chiller. It's a closed loop system.
What are you using for pumps? Are those M's or S's?
Extras. Those are S's.
S's? Yeah.
And then I got the big bad boy hooked up to the sump right here. And this is externally plumbed. A lot of people don't realize that you can externally plumb a return and save yourself some space inside. So that's just an external.
Nice.
And I just cut a big hole in the sump. That's it.
Nice.
Easy peasy.
Perfect.
This is the guy that leaks all the time.
Oh, the chiller?
The Reef Octopus. That's my collector. And I just recently added this because of it. There is a optical sensor in the middle of this thing.
Do you get alerted before it gets to the leaking level?
Yep, and it shuts down the skimmer.
Nice.
So I have, I don't know if everyone out there knows what a closed loop system is, so I'll kind of explain it. But a closed loop system means there is no gravity fed water whatsoever. There is a pipe going in and a pipe going out to the tank, and that's it. There's no sump, there's no nothing. And a lot of the time, back in the day, that's what everybody did. I mean, people didn't have sumps. You did closed loop systems with canister filters.
How long have you had it like that?
This entire system was built this year.
Okay.
But this tank is about 10 years old.
Okay.
So I used to have all kinds of plastic plumbing here, all kinds of. It looked bad.
Every time I do a tank, I always debate closed loop so I could hide all the power heads, but I'm always like afraid to have holes in the bottom of my tank.
Yeah, so that you bring up a good point. That's why I have holes. There's a hole there.
Yep.
There's a hole there. Right up here is a UV sterilizer. Right here.
Okay.
That is an Emperor Aquatics 40 watt.
Now,
it is
do you
rated
run it on your coral tank as well, or just the fish only tank?
just the fish only. And I run it for ick prevention.
Okay.
Specifically, I don't run it for algae prevention. I run it for ick prevention, which requires the pump to be turned way down.
Yes, I can see
I'm
that.
running at about 200 gallon per hour through this.
Okay.
And this pump is rated, I think, for like 1,500 gallon per hour.
Mm-hmm.
So that guy goes right up. There's my flow sensor to tell me what's going on with it. And it goes right into this UV. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
And then the other one's just the chiller. So one pump strictly does the sterilizer, and then the other pump does strictly the chiller.
Okay.
But wait, there's more.
But wait. What else do we have behind door number 3?
Okay, so these aren't actually doors, so I'm going to have to lift them off. Hold on one second.
Aha, I was right. There was a door number 3.
So, because of all the electrical that's in here, I thought the best way to do this was to separate the electrical. So, in this cabinet, I have my Reef Link, which does my vector, which actually does this whole tank. It does the Vectras and the MP40s, and there's a Neptune back there, and then there's my battery backup for this tank.
Dual battery
backup. All the electrical comes into this cabinet. So that way it's separate. Now you guys saw electrical in there, but it's much higher. You probably saw it's probably about a foot from the bottom of the tank. This is, I can't put a battery backup on the bottom of the sump. So that's why it's separate.
Those are the Costco ones. I have the same one under my desk.
Yeah. So I can run, let me put the door back on. I can run the main pump and the skimmer from that battery backup for about 3 hours.
Okay, that's pretty good actually.
And that's all that's plugged into that.
Yep. Now, have you thought about hooking directly to a battery instead of using a UPS to get longer runtime?
Well, hold on. This door is kind of difficult to get back on, but let's give it a moment. We'll do it later. I do have an Ecotech battery backup in this tank, which runs my MP40s that are in here. So to answer your question, I don't see the need. If anything happened, that battery backup is going to alert me. It's going to last. It's going to give me about 3 hours. And then if that fails, I have my MP40s that'll give me, 7 hours or whatever.
Yeah, good for a couple days.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, I haven't really found a need.
Dramedy, 5K and just unions, ball valves, and gate valves. Pretty awesome to see it all working together. Super nice.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll give him a shout out. When I bought my plumbing, it was $6,000.
Woo, that's a good chunk. It looks pretty. I appreciate the blue and gray. It looks good.
Yeah, I like the blue and gray. I thought, to go with my, my whole house is kind of like a desert, or not a desert, an ocean type of theme. So putting like red pipes in there just wouldn't go.
That's fair.
So I'm gonna go back into the kitchen here and take a seat. But that's my system in a nutshell. Nice. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but
no, it definitely is. So what is are those fake corals? There were some fake ones in the fish only tank, and now the tank behind Derrick now is the real coral tank.
Yeah, this is my reef tank. This is all live coral. Yeah, the other tank has all fake coral from Living Sea Aquarium, which I think went out of business down in Florida.
So which tank do you find yourself enjoying the most?
I can tell you from the amount of people that come over to see my tanks, everyone likes the 300 tank. Everyone.
Really? Yep. Which one do you like?
Of course, I like the reef tank better. Yeah. I can tell you that I was just watching something. I think Mark from Saltwater Aquarium had a something online I was watching where he talked about people with second tanks and how people with second tanks, they neglect one of them.
Yeah.
I can tell you that's not true.
Okay, that's good. I was curious if one got more love.
I go and look at each tank every day, make sure everything's okay, at least once a day in each tank. I can tell you it's really nice to be able to get whatever fish you want to get.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of people have reef tanks and they go, well, I really want this fish, but I can't get it because it's going to eat the coral or it's too big or whatever.
Yeah.
Having the flexibility of having a non-coral tank is nice because you can buy whatever fish you want.
That's very, very true.
You know,
Gabe's Reef says you have a beautiful system.
Thank you, Gabe.
Yep.
I think I told Devin too, I take a lot of pride in my fish tanks. Actually, I take a lot of pride in everything in my life. You know, I'm a perfectionist by heart. I mean, even in my job, I take everything I do with pride. And you know, I really don't care if people come over and are like, "Oh my God, look at this tank! This is amazing." It's me. I love knowing that I did this and that I have corals and fish that are alive and that I took care of them. I treat them like my dogs.
Yep.
You know, when a fish dies, I'm very unhappy. You know, because I absolutely love this stuff, just like you guys. So when I have a coral dying or when I have a coral kind of acting weird, I usually give it to my buddy. But before I do that, I try to, you know, resurrect it.
Yeah. Well, you get attached to them too, especially once you've had them for a while and you've kind of grown them up. And like, how old's your oldest fish, for instance?
The Flamingi Tang is probably my oldest fish, and he's probably 7 years old.
Yeah.
Since I bought him.
Okay, that's pretty good.
But I'll give you an example. I have 2 clams in here. I have a squamosa clam and a Corsia clam. I don't know if you guys saw them, so I'll just show you real quick. So here's my squamosa.
Nice.
He's a big guy. I don't know if the lighting's very good.
A little blue, but I can still see it.
And then we're way up there. There's my little Corsia.
Nice.
And the reason I mention the clams is because they are the only surviving clams I've ever had. I have bought so many clams. I've probably bought upwards of 30 clams.
Oh, dang.
Only 2 that have ever survived.
Oh, no.
So I love clams. I wish I could have more of them. But they're just, for some reason, you move them or you touch something on the glass and then they're dead the next day.
Yeah,
so,
I've only tried one once and something ate the foot from the bottom. So I don't know if it was a creature in my sand bed or if it was a bristleworm. I have no idea what it was, but I haven't tried another one since. So one of these days.
But that's what I was getting at, is I love trying new things. I used to have a seahorse tank. I had a tank in my office. That's now a jellyfish tank, but I used to have a seahorse tank in there.
Nice.
And it was a little 30-gallon tank, and I love challenges in our hobby. You know, everyone says, don't get seahorses. No, I'm going to get seahorses.
They say it's hard. You're like, I'm on it.
Yes.
I'll show you. I'll prove you wrong. You can do this.
And, you know, I guess when they die or when I have problems, I feel terrible, you know. And then I see new reefers, you know, struggling, and I go, you know, I've been doing this for 20 years, and I have stuff die on me too.
Yep. And
I feel terrible when it happens.
Oh, you 100% do. Well, a thing too, like you're saying, like the one fish you had for 7 years, like fish can live longer than dogs. Like they can live longer than your dogs, your cats, all your other pets. So you definitely get attached.
Well, we had I don't know if anybody noticed, but there's no fish behind me.
And then, a couple of people are asking.
Yeah. So we had an outbreak of ick. This tank's only 4 months old. I just want to reiterate that to you guys.
Yep.
It came from a tank that was well established. It must have transferred ick. I don't know what happened, but I got an Achilles tang, which you might have saw in the 300 tank. And put them in here, got ick. Took every fish out of this tank. It took me a day with my wife moving everything. It was an absolute nightmare. They're in the other room right now, all doing great. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to put that Achilles in the 300.
Yeah.
And I cured him from his ick. For those people that say they can't cure fish or that they give up on fish, It's not that difficult. Put them in a quarantine, follow the directions to get rid of whatever it is. And I waited a month, put him in the big tank. He's so happy now in the big tank.
Nice. That's
and
awesome.
In about 3 weeks, guess who's all going back in this tank? All my fish.
Awesome. So someone else was asking, Aaron was asking, explain your quarantine.
So I don't really know quarantine very well, but I started learning this last couple of years. And I just have a little 10-gallon quarantine tank with some PVC piping. Now, I do have a big 30-gallon quarantine also because I had to take all my fish out of here. Yeah. But generally, I have this little 10-gallon with just a heater, just a overflow filter, and I actually put a marine pure block in there for biological filtration. And then I don't have to do any water changes. It just does it for me.
Nice. That's handy. Gotta love automation, eh?
Yeah. So quarantine.
Yep. So your quarantine is auto water changing itself too?
It is not.
Oh, okay.
I just have a marine pure block in there.
All right, just checking.
So that does my biological filter, and I have an ammonia sticker on there to tell me if there's ammonia.
Do those work well?
They seem to.
Okay.
I mean, all my fish are alive.
I've never used one. I just throw one on my new tank, cycling it just for fun.
Yeah, and the marine pure block is in there doing what it needs to do. You know, I do have a bubbler in there. I do have a power head in there. I feed them obviously every day. I don't change my feeding regimen because they're in quarantine. A lot of people will say you need to not feed as much when you have a quarantine system. I disagree. I think you need to feed them just like you would normally do because they need to fight a disease or they need to.
If anything, feed them extra as long as you're not like getting bad water quality on top of it, right? So
right.
Feed them well, make sure they're eating, have good water, and don't stress them out. Like have caves, have some PVC, have something for the hide in, right? Because if a fish is stressed, his immune system's going to be weaker and he's more susceptible. It's harder for him to heal. So I
went to Home Depot. I bought one of these gigantic PVC pipes, like 4-incher.
Yep.
And they all hang out in there and they're happy.
Yep. Exactly.
But yeah, I can't wait to put the fish back in here. For all those people that are like, why don't you have any fish? I can't wait to put the fish back in here.
Yep.
You know, balancing the nutrients with no fish is really hard. I'm getting a little bit of algae in certain areas because there's no fish.
Yep.
So it's tough. It really is.
Yeah, I've never had just coral. I mean, I've had coral live in a bucket for a month, but that was about it. Never tried a full tank.
I mean, you got to have at least one fish. I mean, you got to have fish in there to poop and pee and do their thing to make it so the corals have nutrients. Back in the day, they used to tell you, I remember going to the fish store when I was 20 years old, 0, everything's 0, make sure everything's 0. I go, okay. And then I was killing corals left and right.
Yeah,
and then someone decided to say, hey, you need a little bit of nutrients to get things growing. And that's what we do now.
Well, one of the things too with the other tank with like nutrients, like corals will absorb those nitrates and phosphates as well to an extent as they grow. So I mean, having a bunch of coral actually helps with those levels once they turn to colonies and decent sizes.
Yes, absolutely. The biggest issue I have is with nutrients. It's very hard, especially when you have no fish.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing for anybody that ever has to take all their fish out. Be prepared to test your nutrients often. Make sure they don't drop to 0 because mine did.
Yep.
And some of my acros are starting to change a little bit in color. And
like, are they paling out or what are they doing? Like, how are they changing?
They're mostly browning out.
Browning out? Okay.
Browning out. And I'm working on it. You know, most of my corals, you can see when I showed you, most of them are still colored up and doing great.
Yeah.
But the acros are not as happy. And I can tell you, I wish I could put those fish in tomorrow. But I'm not going to do it, you know, because if anyone out there's ever had ick, I can tell you there's nothing more you can do than take all the fish out.
Yeah.
If anybody thinks that they can throw some biological super duper ick thing, unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna work.
Did all of your fish have ick, or
just one?
Just one.
The Achilles.
So, like in the past, like I've had like my powder blue once or twice has had like, you know, some white spots on them.
Yeah.
And then I basically did nothing, and they went away within a couple days. Just because I was feeding well, you know, the water's good. I figured catching him and stressing him out would probably have done more harm than anything.
The Achilles looked real bad.
Did he? Okay, yeah, mine wasn't that bad. It was subtle, but
yeah, he looked really bad. extremely bad, actually. He was like pale white. And I said, okay, it's a $400. That's a $400 fish. We're taking him out.
Yep.
And I said, you know what? I can't put him back in, and I can't put any other fish back in until I take all the fish out. And
so how long are you keeping them out of the tank for?
We are on week 6.5 right now.
Nice. Are you doing the full like 80 or whatever, 80, 90 days, whatever the cycle is?
I am actually not. I am going to wrap Chicago.
Yep.
And I am not going to have the QT running while I'm out of town. So I'm going to put them in about a week early and monitor them in the tank before I leave.
Okay.
And I know it's not the right thing to do, but
are they looking good? Happy?
You know, I really have no choice.
How are they looking? Are they looking pretty good?
All the fish are doing great.
Yep.
Yeah, they're doing great.
Perfect.
They're eating. They're happy.
Nice.
I did do a copper treatment with them, and I did a general cure treatment with them. They're all fine. I mean, none of them ever got the ick, but just in case, now they definitely don't have ick. Yep. And there's definitely not going to be ick in this tank.
Now, did you buy a fish that had it and brought it in, or did it just come up in the system after a bit?
I think it was in my old tank. It was an 8-year-old tank, which I had never bought fish. I had like 3 or 4 fish in there. And I think once I moved it over and got the Achilles, showed up.
Okay.
That's what I think happened. I think I always had it.
That's fair. Usually it's something stress related that brings it out. But that's why I'm just kind of curious if it was.
Yeah, he looked bad. I thought I was going to lose him. But like I just said earlier, you might think you're going to lose this fish. And I'm telling you, put him in quarantine, you get the correct medication, you're very patient, and you do your due diligence. They will recover. Fish are supposed to live, like you said, 20 years.
Yeah.
Why would you sacrifice a living thing because you're too lazy to take it out of the tank? You know what I mean? It was not hard. I had to get a fish trap and all that fun stuff. But now I feel like this big sense of accomplishment. I feel like a doctor.
That's good though. I mean,
I cured the fish, and he's super happy now on that 300. And I feel like I did the right thing. I didn't let the ick take. It's possible, like you just said, though. It's possible the ick would have went away.
Yeah.
Right? But I didn't want to take that chance.
Well, there you go. He's happy now. He's doing well. So that's good. Good. Made the right choice.
What a pain, but I took him out.
Yep. Okay. Now back to the automation side for a second.
Okay.
Was there any other kind of crazy oddball stuff that you've done that you think no one else has really thought of or done on your tank to automate something?
The coolest thing I did was last week or the week before.
Yeah. Which is everyone and their mother is asking Neptune, how do I get a calcium reactor working with a Trident? Yep.
I'm sure you saw that I have a Trident and a calcium reactor.
Sure did.
And what I was having an issue with, which I was surprised to see your alkalinity and how stable it was, but then I saw the hours that you're testing. So
I test every 12 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
I was testing every 2 hours.
Yep.
And you'd be shocked to know that during the night, there is a significant swing in alkalinity. And for me, with my calcium reactor, it was going from 8.5 to 9 at night, and then back to 8.5 during the day.
Oh, that's a big jump.
It is.
I think mine had, it was about a 0.2 difference. Because when I first got it, I did test hourly or every 2 hours, something like that, for the first few days. And I was like, okay, it's pretty stable anyway. So then I just reduced it down.
Well, I think you have a much bigger tank than me too, don't you?
How big's your tank?
Mine's 100.
Okay, yeah, it's a little bit bigger.
Yeah. I don't know if that matters, but the point I'm making is it's crazy how you have a Trident and you can see this. And I saw these huge slopes, and I was like, okay, here comes programmer. How can I fix this slope?
Yep. So are you adjusting it based on the time or based on the test result?
I am doing both. Okay. Which is awesome, by the way. So if it goes above, I have it shut off my feed pump.
Yep.
If it goes above a certain amount. But on top of that, I programmed a off and on based on the time of day of the pH that's inside the CO2 reactor or inside the calcium reactor. Flipping awesome.
Nice.
I was so happy when it was working. So now every hour it's stable. And when I say stable, within like maybe 0.05,
Yep.
0.1. And the only way you could do that is with a Neptune Trident and a Neptune, obviously, and the Kimura. The Kimura is fantastic.
Yeah.
So you can just turn it off and on whenever you want.
So it's constantly tweaking it to stabilize it.
So that is definitely, I think, oddball because it took a lot of programming to figure out how to do that. If the guys out there that are familiar with Apex programming, the hardest thing to do is time-based stuff with other stuff.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool. Now, I think the RO shut off that I showed you earlier is pretty cool that I did. I got a couple crazy things in there. You know, I have when a specific leak detector leaks, only turn off this pump.
Okay.
You know, so if there's a leak on the right side of the tank, only turn off the right pump. Why would I turn off the left pump?
Yeah.
You know,
shut off was close. Well, when you have 18 leak detectors per tank.
You know, I used to do. Trying to think what else. Oddball. It's hard to say. I don't know what's considered oddball because I think everything I do is a necessity.
I'm just trying. Yeah, that's fair. I'm just trying to think of stuff that most people wouldn't think to do, like just different things other than like the standard.
I think the low sump thing. A lot of people don't do.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that a low sump alert is essential. That tells you that something's wrong.
Yep.
Either your return is not pumping as much as it's supposed to, or pumping too much. Your auto top off stopped working.
Yep.
And you know, I think that's one of the coolest things that I have is the low sump alert and the high sump alert. Having a high sump alert is awesome too. And I've done so many silly things. I'm just trying to think of all the silliness that I've done.
When we were talking earlier about the alerts to your phone, one thing that I did too is I had an LED strip that would light up the wall behind the tank if the alarm was on.
Yeah.
And on the new one, I just put like a strip in my little light bar so the roof would glow above the tank if the alarm was on.
You reminded me of something. This is crazy. This is odd.
Okay.
Back in the day when there was no Apex.
Yep.
I had that crash where where all my fish died because I left for the weekend. It was about electrical. So I decided I'm going to get at the time, they had a special light switch that you could put in the wall that I can I can configure with my automation in my house. So what I did, and it worked, if that went out in the middle of the night, it would turn on my TV in my bedroom. It would turn the volume up really loud and wake me up.
Nice. That's hardcore.
And it worked. One time the power went out and it woke me up. And I was like, thank goodness I had this.
Yeah.
That was odd. That was pretty oddball.
That is pretty oddball.
The thing is you can't do fun stuff like anymore with Apex. It's just so easy and they have everything to make it just plug and play.
Too easy to turn on that alert. Yeah. How dare they make it that easy? Get all the fun out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I used to have all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah.
I had I'm trying to remember. I had a leak detector that would open a door over here to tell me there's a leak because there wasn't a way to tell me. So I had this thing that would start bouncing. I don't remember what it was. It was like it's like an AC vent that goes like this. So I would have it like push up and down to tell me that there's something wrong. That was a long time ago. That was like when I first had the house. But yeah, I've been doing automation for so long, you know.
The cool thing now is like with all the color changing bulbs too. If you have smart bulbs in your house, you can make them change a color.
Sure.
Give you a visual alert. Like
absolutely.
I've just discovered that like if then this or whatever the heck it is that site is, so you can like trigger random stuff off other random stuff. So
you know, people don't know this, and I think they mentioned it. Is Neptune has an XML feed. That comes out of their units.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and if you're familiar with XML, you can actually parse for people that aren't familiar with programming. You can take parts of the text and send it somewhere. So if you can pull part of the text that says, "Hey, outlet off," or "Hey, this is happening," to something else, you can then trigger something else. And when I say something else, I mean a light bulb, like you said, or something that allows you to do that.
I put an LED strip I bought off Amazon on my desk and behind my monitor so I can like make the wall glow, just like ambient lighting.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna do that. If there's an alert, I'm gonna make my desk lights turn red.
There you
I
go.
like it. You inspired me.
I try to inspire people. That's
love it. Love
it. We, you know, I like I said, I love this stuff. Like I'm obsessed with it.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I can think of something new, I will do it.
We will have to do some brainstorming. This is a dangerous combination.
Yes, I mean, you know, one of my buddies told me exactly the type of person I am, and I am a beta tester.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that gets released, kind of like you.
Yeah.
I buy it, I try it, I hate it, send it back, like it, keep it, put it in a closet. You know, it just depends, you know, and I test everything, you know, and I'm one of those people that I will say, hey, you know, this doesn't really work really well. You know, like the alkalinity, unfortunately, with the ReefBot that I have problems with.
Yep.
And I don't consider
how are your other tests? Like, I've never used mine for alkalinity because I have an alkatronic, so it seems pointless to me. But using it for nitrates and phosphates, the mag has been solid for me. So how's it working for the other tests? It's just the one test?
I can tell you the nitrates and phosphates work, and they work every time.
Yep.
I have spoke to their support about their app. I mean, unfortunately, I'm suffering from an issue with notifications, and no one else seems to have this issue. I don't get notifications sometimes.
Yeah, that is odd. See, I get mine all the time. Something funky. Brightwell Aquatics is asking, do you do any voice commands through Alexa or Google?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent.
My entire house is voice activated. My shades, my television, my speakers, my lights, my Neptune system, you name it, it is voice activated. My wife loves it. The being able to close the shades with the voice. I have a thing where I say goodnight, and it shuts off all my lights, turns all my TVs off, closes my garage door if I left it open. That's what I do for a living, by the way. The gentleman who asked. That's what my company is, Home Automation Experts here in Arizona. If you're interested,
what's your company's website?
haexperts.com.
Perfect.
Very easy.
So if anyone lives in Arizona, wants to automate beyond the tank, you know where to go.
And I do actually have 10 clients that are reef tank owners, and I program their Neptune for them. Nice. That seems to be unfortunately, it seems to be a service company. What's the word I'm looking for? No. They don't want.
Really?
They don't want to do it. A lot of service companies here in Arizona are afraid of Neptune, afraid of automation. They just want to go to a house, clean a tank, and leave.
Yeah.
There are, however, quite a few that do program Neptune, and quite a few that call me because I program more custom stuff. You know, that's a little bit above just opening it up and running a task. And for everyone that's watching, I have a Facebook group called Reef Automation that I just started. I started it probably a month ago.
Nice.
And if you guys have automation questions or programming questions, I am here to help you guys. I love this stuff, and I have no problem programming it for you guys for free if you ask me. I'm not looking to make any money on anything. I just love doing it. So,
I love of the reefing. Love it.
But yeah, if you guys have programming questions, I'm sure I've experienced it in my own house. I love to try things. So,
what's the name of the group? I'll put a link in it. Reefing Automation?
Reef Automation.
Reef Automation. All right.
I literally just started it. So
I know. You sent me a link.
I'm hoping to get people in there.
I'll throw a link down later.
Like we're talking today about stuff that's strictly automation. Questions about automation. Because I definitely can't tell you I know about reef chemistry. I don't, I'm just like an average reefer like the rest of you. I hope that something is not dying and try to fix it. But when it comes to wiring, plumbing, that type of stuff, I'm here to help you guys if you need it.
Awesome. Perfect. Free tech support on his Facebook page. You're in the comments. All right, I'll put a link in the description after.
You probably got all my friends bugging you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
expected.
It's okay.
Awesome. Any other cool ideas or things in the works for future projects, or is just whatever inspiration strikes? Yeah.
Well, I think I mentioned I think I mentioned to you maybe, I'm going to be putting a frag tank in the garage. My frags are in this tank right now, so they're not growing too much yet. Too new. Put a frag tank, going to plumb from that tank you just saw from that manifold, and going to have a little frag tank in there. And that's going to be automated to the gills. A little, probably 10-gallon frag tank with thousands of dollars of automation. By the way, my
Did you say 10-gallon frag tank?
I don't know. I was just being facetious. I have a jellyfish tank in my office, and it has a chiller, and it has a Senai.
Is it one of those little tiny nano chillers?
That's correct.
The little Petri ones, or Petri, whatever you say? Yeah.
It has a thermoelectric chiller.
Nice.
But here's the best part. It has a Senai. It's a 2-gallon jellyfish tank, and it has a Senai. That's correct.
Nice.
To alert me if the temperature goes up or down.
Nice. That's awesome. Do you actually use the little slides in it for like nitrate or ammonia or whatever test for?
I use it for ammonia, actually.
Yeah.
And they're not cheap, but it's a 2-gallon jellyfish tank. But, that's how crazy I am with this stuff.
I love it. Makes me happy to see all this stuff. Awesome. Well, I've had you on here for quite a while, actually. So.
Oh, wow.
No, I know.
I could talk forever about this stuff.
I'm gonna drag you on again one day. We'll dig into some of this some more. It'll be good.
Yeah, I'm always doing stuff. I'm always changing stuff. I'm always doing stuff. But yeah, anybody has any automation questions, I'm here. Devin, of course, he has automation too, so he knows all about it too.
Between the two of us, we'll automate the world.
Yeah.
And the reef tanks,
Yeah. Soon I'm gonna have a robot doing everything for me.
Pretty much.
Because I don't want to.
I need a robot glass cleaner next to deal with the stair side of my new peninsula tank.
Have you seen? There's a company out there that has an iRobot tank cleaner.
There's like Movi or Moavi or something like that with a little camera in it. They said it's coming out this fall. I asked them about it.
And it cleans the tank for you just like a Roomba.
Yep. So
that's insane.
Hopefully, I just need it just to clean the glass on the side. That's a pain in the butt to get to. That's all I want.
Insane.
I know. It'd be good.
The only problem I don't like about that is it sticks on the glass, and you have to see it all the time.
Yeah. It's a trade-off. You just need like a little cubby for it to hide into somehow or something. Little door opens, it comes out like a little mouse.
Right.
This thing goes back and hides. You can make it happen. I have faith in you.
Oh, I know I can make it happen. Don't worry. No more questions from the Peanut Gang?
I think we got it all. What's the group again? Reef Automation? Yes, it is.
Reef Automation, yeah.
I will throw a link. I'll update the description in like half an hour, and then it'll be in there for future. For all the replays after watching this.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on today. I've had you on here for almost an hour and 35, 40 minutes, so I won't keep you all night. But I appreciate it. It's been awesome.
I really appreciate being on here. Thank you so much.
No problem. Anytime. I'm going to drag you back on again one day and see what other kind of crazy amazingness you're cooking up.
Probably next week I'll be cooking up something crazy, yeah.
All right. So in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. All right, guys. If you enjoyed it, as always, hit that thumbs up button. Derrick, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
We will catch you guys on next week's stream.